Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy, Sports and Fitness Rants? I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today, as usual. You guys know the deal on this channel, man. We must continue to set the record straight. Stop the lies. Stop the narratives. Stop these fools from rewriting history, man. Stop these fools from trying to bend reality and hold these guys to a standard, man. And in this video, we're going to continue to set the record straight in this fool, Gilbert Arenas, this clown, Gilbert Arenas, once again, the low integrity, no class, no honor from Gilbert Arenas, not a real man, doesn't carry himself like a real man, continues to tear down the past greats, the past eras, and continues to make nonsensical statements about Michael Jordan and the era that he played in. He doesn't seem to get it. And once again, Gilbert Arenas exposes the reality that just because you play in the league doesn't mean that you respect the history of the NBA or that you even know the history of the NBA, that you watch this stuff in the 80s and the 90s. Or once again, like I said, you know what's going on. He exposed himself again, and we're going to talk about in this video, Gilbert Arenas, and some of the things that he's been saying. Once again, Gilbert Arenas making headlines, because that's all Gilbert Arenas is a bunch of hot takes. He ain't giving you the facts, man. He's not educating anybody out there. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states, man, has been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, I am truly, truly humbled by all the support. It means a lot. All you guys in the membership, shout out to all you guys. Thank you very much for your continued support. Everybody's been commenting, liking my videos. Much respect to you guys. Thank you, man. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, I've been seeing Gilbert Arenas' name in the headlines again, as usual, for the same things. It's always the same things with Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas is never saying anything really, like I said, educational. He's not saying anything inspirational. He's not saying anything that you're like, oh, man, this guy, man, he's got it. Nope. Not Gilbert Arenas. He's a shock jock, man. He's a guy out there for the money and the views. That's all Gilbert Arenas is out there for. I've told you this, guys, many, many times, man. You guys know me and him, this clown, have gone back and forth several times on YouTube because Gilbert Arenas does not keep it real and does not give the honest facts. And once again, he's flip-flopping all over the place, saying things that don't add up, that do not add up. And once again, prove that just because, like I always say, just because you played in the league does not make you better than us and does not mean that you understand or know the history of the NBA or you're going to be honest about the history of the NBA. These guys are disingenuous at best. Once again, they're fake, they're frauds. They're out there for the money, for the views. Gilbert Arenas is only out there to be for hot takes so he can get some clicks on his videos so people will come listen to his corny-ass podcast or his show, Gil's Arena. How this man still has people watching this stuff is beyond me. This dude is a straight-up goofball. Like I said, it stands on nothing, guys. All over the place, this guy. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Michael Jordan's this. Michael Jordan era that. And I saw some comments of Gilbert Arenas talking about, once again, Michael Jordan in the shooting guard position of the 90s. Overall, oh, Michael Jordan. I love when these fools come out and say, oh, who did Michael Jordan go against at the shooting guard position? I love how they make the NBA and basketball a one-on-one game. I love how they do that. Because these are the same people always talking about it's a team game when we talk about Michael Jordan and the 6 championships. Never going to a game 7 undefeated. They'll mention things like, oh, it's a team game. It's not Michael Jordan out there by himself. He had Scottie Pippen. He had all these teammates doing other things. But then someone like Gilbert Arenas wants you to believe that Michael Jordan won the championships because there wasn't another top 5 shooting guard, he said, or some nonsense I heard him say about a top 5 shooting guard or the shooting guards in the era that Michael Jordan played in. Once again, Gilbert Arenas exposed himself because the reality is, if we want to go off the reality, the facts of the matter, once again, guys, the facts of the matter, if he wants to throw out a top 5 or talk about shooting guards that Michael Jordan went against, Clyde Drexler is hands down a top 5 shooting guard when they were playing at that time. Hands down, when Clyde Drexler retired from the NBA, he was hands down a top 5 shooting guard. Still to this day, to me, Clyde Drexler is still a top 5 shooting guard in the history of the game. To me, he's probably the greatest offensive rebounding or shooting guard in the history of the game. Those are the facts. Watch the video footage and check the numbers. The numbers will back up the video footage. What this man was doing on the glass. Clyde Drexler. And he was a fantastic athlete because Gilbert Arenas will talk about these guys weren't great athletes. All this nonsensical things. Clyde Drexler was a fantastic athlete. Clyde the Glide Drexler. The reason he was called the Glide was because of his athleticism and the way the man glided through the air. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? But what Gilbert Arenas is really missing when he talks about the shooting guard position or a lack of a top 5 shooting guard, things of that nature, and I bring up someone like a Clyde Drexler who absolutely qualifies as a top 5 shooting guard in NBA's history. Like I said, when Clyde Drexler was playing, you could argue he was a top 3 shooting guard in the history of the game. It was only due to guys like Kobe Bryant and the Dwayne Wades, the Allen Iversons, some of these guys down the line that you can maybe argue are greater than a Clyde Drexler. But there's also guys like Reggie Miller in there, right? The George Gervins of the world that you can argue for some of these spots. The Sam Joneses, some of these great shooting guards in the history of the game. We all know about Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Jerry West, right? We know about these guys. But Gilbert Arenas is really missing and failing to realize when he talks about these things and how this exposes him and a lot of other people that I've heard make this claim about the shooting guards. Who are the shooting guards that Michael Jordan went against? And I've done a video on this. I've done several videos on the shooting guards. That a lot of these guys, once again, who did not watch the 80s or the 90s era of NBA, they won't talk to you about a lot of the shooting guards. Just shooting guards that Michael Jordan went against. They won't talk to you about Michael Cooper or Alvin Robertson or a Sidney Moncrief or a Joe Dumars or a Reggie Miller or a Drazen Petrovic or a Mitch Richmond. Right? They won't talk to you about a lot of these guys. Right? They won't talk to you about the Gerald Wilkinses of the world. Right? They won't talk to you about Stacey Augmon or Kendall Gill. Right? Some of these other guys that some of these guys do not know. Or once again, they're being disingenuous and they want you to believe that Michael Jordan didn't go against any great shooting guards or any talent at the shooting guard position in the NBA during those times. But the one thing, once again, that Gilbert Arenas continues to fail to realize, like so many other these fools that don't want to be honest with you, is that when they talk about Michael Jordan changing the game, what are they talking about when they say Michael Jordan changed the game? Well, in fact, what they're talking about is that Michael Jordan changed the dynamic, right, of how they thought you could win in the NBA at a high level. They didn't think that you could lead the league in scoring and win championships because no one was doing these kinds of things. They didn't think that a shooting guard, you could win with a shooting guard, with a perimeter player. They didn't think that you could win that way consistently. Everyone thought conventional wisdom was you needed a big man down low, a low post presence down low, the inside out game of the NBA and the history of the league, guys, up until Michael Jordan changed the game. So all the franchises, all those championships that were won, they had big men. You're talking about the George Mikens, the first dynasty in the NBA's history. A big man, a great big man, George Mikan. Bill Russell Celtics, a legendary big man leading the way. Wilt Chamberlain with Jerry West. Wilt Chamberlain, a big man leading the way. The big man down low presence that you needed in order to win championships. The Lakers had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Larry Bird had Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. 2 down low presences. Kevin McHale, one of the great post players in the history of the game. Shaquille O'Neal, right? That's after Michael Jordan. Everyone thought you needed a big man to win. But it was Michael Jordan that changed the game. And in fact showed that you could win not only one championship and maybe be a one-hit wonder, so to speak, but that you could win multiple championships and you could be an all-time great dynasty and be a consistent franchise year after year after year, building around a perimeter shooting guard. A shooting guard. No one ever could do that. No one thought you could do those things. Nobody thought that. As great as Jerry West was, couldn't get past the Celtics with Bill Russell. Right? Oscar Robertson wasn't winning until he teamed up with a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is the game people thought you needed to win. This is why Sam Bowie was drafted. That's the whole meaning of that. That's why that Sam Bowie pick is highlighted so much. Because you literally were drafting Sam Bowie because you didn't want another guard on your team. Because they would have thought, oh, we need a big man now. And what did Bobby Knight tell them? Then play Michael Jordan at center. If you need a center, play him at center. Just draft the man. And they would have had Clyde Drexler, Michael Jordan together. But that wasn't the conventional wisdom. So when Gilbert Arenas talks about the shooting guard position, Oh, who did Michael Jordan go against at the shooting guard position? Or was there a top 5 guy? Blah, 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 blah. The athletes, this and that. First, we know there were great athletes in the NBA. Anyone who doesn't believe that there were great athletes in the NBA, once again, you're being disingenuous. You're acting stupid right now. Because the facts show, the videotape shows, there were some great, fantastic athletes in the NBA. But when he talks about the NBA and the shooting guards, once again, he's failing to mention that the NBA or Michael Jordan changed the game. So when Michael Jordan was in the 80s and the 90s, Michael Jordan was in fact dominating the big man era. He was dominating a big man era with the legendary big men. He didn't dominate the shooting guard era. He didn't dominate, oh man, it's the legendary shooting guard era that Michael Jordan was going against, and that's what qualifies him as being great. Michael Jordan dominated a big man era against legendary big men without having a big man on his team. Michael Jordan didn't have any legendary big man, no quality big man, nobody with a low post presence. Michael Jordan was the low post presence for Chicago Bulls, which is why, in fact, during the postseason, Phil Jackson often ran their offense more often through Michael Jordan in the post because teams could not deal with Michael Jordan. He was a nightmare to deal with in the post. Because not only did he have the post-up game, the turnaround fadeaway, the footwork, all the moves out of the post, he was a quick decision maker. Whether he would go quick right to the baseline and spin away from the double team, or if he would catch the double team coming and make the quick pass. Whatever the case may be, these are things that Michael Jordan would do, getting other teammates shots, putting them in better possible positions to be successful in that triangle offense. Michael Jordan working out of the post. Luke Longley wasn't a dominated post player. Bill Cartwright, a dominant post player? No. Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen? No. None of these guys were the dominant post players. There was no big man for the Bulls all those years. It was Michael Jordan who changed the game that was going against legendary big men in a legendary big men era. So Gilbert Arenas talking about the shooting guards, do you sound ridiculous? Because first there were great shooting guards. I just named a whole bunch of these guys during Michael Jordan's time that he played. So you sound stupid right there, but he doesn't want to talk about the legendary big men that were there. So when they try to make it a one-on-one game, who did Michael Jordan go against at the shooting guard position? They want you to believe that Michael Jordan's playing in this era of NBA, where all Michael Jordan has to do is beat his man on the perimeter, right, with the Olay defense, and Michael Jordan would have an easy opportunity at the rim. That's not the case back in those days. Even if Michael Jordan beat Clyde Drexler with the dribble, or if he beat John Starks, or Joe Wilkins, or Sidney Moncrief, or an Alvin Robertson, right, or Reggie Miller, or Mitch Richmond, whoever he's going against, a Derek McKee, whoever's out there on the perimeter, whoever was guarding Michael Jordan. Once again, Gilbert Arenas exposing himself because it wasn't just shooting guards guarding Michael Jordan. There was multiple different players, different heights, different sizes, different athletic abilities guarding Michael Jordan. But it wasn't just all of these things going on. It was also that Michael Jordan would get past the player, and now he has to deal with one of the big men down low. A power forward, a center, clogging the lane. That's willing to throw an elbow at you, a forearm, right? Willing to knock you down to the ground, make you earn it. Challenge your shot to rim. They're going to contest the shots, right? The Patrick Ewings, the Dikembe Mutombos, right? The Alonzo Mournings, the Shaquille O'Neals, right? The David Robinsons, right? The Ronnie Cycles, the Rick Smiths, the Mark Eatons, right? Some of the guys that were back in them days. They're going to challenge you at the rim. You're going to have to finish over these guys. It wasn't just these guys were big. They were big and they were aggressive. This is why they got posterized back in those days. These guys were on posters regularly by some of the great dunkers. Sean Kemp, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. They would posterize some of these legendary big men because these guys were out there challenging shots. They were aggressive. They didn't back down. They didn't shy like, oh, I don't want to be in a poster. Let me play this Olay defense. It's crazy right now. Gilbert Arenas talking about these shooting guards, exposing himself. It was a big man era. Gilbert Arenas, the game was changed. This is why you had the guys later on. This is why you have the Kobe Bryants, the Vince Carters, the Tracy McGrady's, Right? Some of these other guys are Dwayne Wades or LeBron Jameses. Right? You have these guys coming up behind these dudes because they realize you can win with these guys. You can draft off the athletic wings. Right? Guys that have skills on the perimeter. And you can win championships like that. They realized that. And that was because of Michael Jordan changing the game. So he didn't dominate the shooting guard era. He dominated the big man era. Gilbert Arenas want to talk about the big men that he dominated. Oh, who Mike Jordan going to get shooting guard position? Mike Jordan went against a lot of great players. Once again, Gilbert Arenas. Michael Jordan was being guarded by point guards, by shooting guards, by power forwards, by small forwards. All kinds of players. This is what they had to do against Michael Jordan. You should know this. But you're being disingenuous. Like you always are. You're not trying to educate the people. You just want them to click on your video. Then you want them to watch your stupid podcast. Right? And listen to get all hyped up and talk crazy and stupid. But you don't want to give the facts. Mike Jordan was double teamed. He was triple teamed. All these things. You don't want to talk about that. That he went against great shooting guards. He went against great players. Great players. Gilbert Arenas don't want to mention these kinds of things. He ain't giving you the honest facts. I saw something else that Gilbert Arenas mentioned, something about Michael Jordan being a Bugatti or something like that, and the other players not being on his level athletically, and that's why Michael Jordan was able to. You ever notice these guys try to qualify Michael Jordan's greatness? That's what I'm talking about, you guys. They're trying to rewrite the history and bend the reality and excuse Michael Jordan's great. Everything's an excuse now. Oh, he was so much more athletic than everybody else. That's why he won. So he didn't play against anybody. He was more skilled than everybody, Anthony Edwards. And Gilbert Arenas says he's a Bugatti and everyone else was not. They were Honda Civics or some nonsense. He said, when you hear him speak, that's a hot jock statement right there. It's all hyperbole. It's all exaggerations from Gilbert Arenas. It's not the facts. I can easily go down the list of great athletes that played in the NBA in the 90s. I mean, it's ridiculous for these guys to say this stuff out loud and think that what they're saying is supposed to be like, oh yeah, man, I just said something profound. You guys sound ridiculous. Where are you holding on to any sort of integrity, man, or any sort of the facts? Let's think about that statement: Michael Jordan being a Bugatti and the rest of the league not being on his level athletically. Now, we know the jump once again. Like I said, we know guys that were great athletes, but let's think about the Bugatti thing. And that's related to the NBA and how the NBA was being played when Michael Jordan was in the NBA. When we talk about the physicality of the league, what I tell you guys a lot of times about what the physicality does to you on the defensive end, it neutralizes your athleticism to a certain degree. So what does that do? It allows a lesser athletic person to be more efficient or more effective, on the defensive end. I.e., someone like a Jeff Hornacek that they'll mock for guarding Michael Jordan, right? I'm sure Gilbert Arenas, he was being guarded by Jeff Hornacek. And once again, Jeff Hornacek, if you watch the video footage, gave consistent effort against Michael Jordan. These guys studied film against Michael Jordan. So, even though Michael Jordan would have been a Bugatti going against a Jeff Hornacek, what Jeff Hornacek was able to do physically, using forearms and hands and all of these things, right? Using different things to neutralize some of your athleticism. So it gives Jeff Hornacek more of an opportunity to be effective on the defensive end. Also, when you're playing in that era, some of these guys, because the way the game was played with big men down low, that challenged shots, that contested shots, that were clogging up the lane. If Michael Jordan's being guarded by someone on the perimeter, a John Starks or some of these other guys, what they were able to do is because they knew they had guys behind them, backup, big men, right? They were able to play Michael Jordan a certain way. They were allowed to cheat against Michael Jordan, maybe be a little bit more aggressive on Michael Jordan's hand, right? On his certain spots on the court, on certain areas of the court where Michael Jordan, they know he wants to get to. Because they knew they had someone behind him, so they could force Michael Jordan a certain way, maybe force him to take a drive or do something into the help defense, into a shot blocker, into a Patrick Ewing, into a David Robinson, a Hakeem Olajuwon, or any of these other guys that were down low at those times. The big men in general that were going to put their hands up. They were going to challenge you at the rim or bang you or foul you hard. That's how it was being done in the NBA. So it's a different kind of game that Michael Jordan's playing when you're going against these guys and they're allowed to be physical on you. It doesn't allow your skills or your athleticism to take over. If you put a Bugatti in the mountains on rough terrain, for example, where the hell is the Bugatti going? It's not going a damn place. You're going to have to go get yourself a Jeep, a 4x4 or something to go over some of this rough, rocky terrain. You wouldn't be able to get through this terrain in a Bugatti. It's built for a certain kind of element, right? Built for speed. These luxury race cars, you put a lot of these cars on ice, you put them on a rough terrain, all of a sudden they're worthless now. They're going nowhere. It's all show and no go now. This is why being a Bugatti, so to speak, like Gilbert Arenas is claiming, doesn't mean as much. Once because we know there's other great athletes in the NBA at that time, but also because of the physicality these guys were able to use during that era to neutralize some of that Bugatti-like athleticism. So essentially, you're putting the Bugatti on ice, or you're putting the Bugatti in a rough mountain terrain where it's going over jagged rocks and all these things. How are you supposed to clear this stuff in a Bugatti? This is why someone like Michael Jordan had to be able to adapt, adjust his game, going against teams like the Detroit Pistons that would neutralize your athleticism to a degree. What did they say? Oh, we weren't going to let Michael Jordan get in the air. We weren't going to let Michael Jordan get that step. We weren't going to do this. We weren't going to do that. So they neutralized him by tripping him up, by grabbing his ankle, grabbing his arm, clotheslining him in the air, smacking him in the face. That's putting the Bugatti on ice, putting it on a rough terrain. Michael Jordan was more than a Bugatti, man. He was more than athleticism. That's why Gilbert Arenas sounds ridiculous. Michael Jordan was never about the athleticism. That was never his game was based off of just athleticism. That was part of his game, but it wasn't just the flash or the athleticism. And he doesn't seem to understand that or get the reality of the facts. And this is why he continues to expose himself. And this is why I continue to clown this fool and show you guys and tell you guys I have no respect for Gilbert Arenas, any of his basketball takes. He might know X's and O's, but he don't know a damn thing about the history of the game. He don't know a damn thing about the 80s and the 90s. So just stop talking about it, man. And then they play against a top 5 shooting guard. Clyde Drexler is easily a top 5 shooting guard. Reggie Miller was easily arguably a top 5 shooting guard in the 90s at that time when they were playing the game. But it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant about a top 5 shooting guard or not, or the guys he played the shooting guard position in general, because Michael Jordan went against great players. Great players. Every time he won a championship, he went against all-time legends. Legends. Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, John Stockton. These are legends, man. All-time legendary players that Michael Jordan was going against in the championships. And the teams that Michael Jordan went against were battle-tested teams, going against other great teams. Go look at how many times the teams that Michael Jordan faced in the from the Western Conference in the NBA Finals, how many Game 5s or Game 7s they went to in those conferences over the years. They were all battling against each other. The Seattle Supersonics won 60 games in the 90s like 4 or 5 times. The Utah Jazz win the Western Conference Finals like 4 or 5 times in the 90s. The Portland Trail Blazers win the Western Conference Finals like 2 or 3 times. The San Antonio Spurs, the Houston Rockets. These teams were formidable. The Phoenix Suns. They were battle-tested teams that Michael Jordan went against. The teams. It wasn't always about the name on the back of the jersey. It didn't matter if it was Danny Ainge or Joe Dumars. It didn't matter if it was John Starks. It didn't matter if it was Dennis Rodman. It didn't matter. He was going to compete because those guys were going to compete. Those guys studied film on Michael Jordan. But he was talking about the shooting guards that he went against. Like these guys with some also-rans. Those guys gave effort way more consistently than a lot of the guys do today. And those guys studied film to go against Michael Jordan. Studied his tendencies, where he liked the ball. All these kinds of things, because it mattered to them. They were true competitors. And they respected Michael Jordan's competitiveness, and they knew he was going to bring it. And Michael Jordan knew they were going to bring it. He didn't just go against shooting guards. He went against all kinds of players. Remember, Michael Jordan was guarded by the other team's best perimeter player, no matter who it was. And he was often double-teamed. They often shaded their defense towards Michael Jordan. This is why when Michael Jordan first came in the league, this is why he was battle-tested. This is why, guys, he went through the fire. As soon as he came in the league, you're going against elite defensive guys at that shooting guard position, guys. You're going against the Sidney Moncriefs, the Michael Coopers, the Dennis Johnsons. You're going against some of these guys as a rookie coming in, right? Then you're battling against Alvin Robertson. You're battling against a Joe Dumars. You're going against Dennis Rodman. You're going against a Gary Payton. Like, what are we talking about here? All of a sudden now, everyone was talking about Michael Jordan's height. Or the guys that Michael Jordan went against. Oh, yeah, these guys were 6'3". This guy was 6'4". This guy was this. All of a sudden now, everyone was shorter back in the day. Everyone's taller now. That's not the reality, guys. They're shorter today. Devin Booker's going to guard Michael Jordan? Really, Devin Booker? Come on, man. Give me Clyde Drexler all day over Devin Booker, man. How tall is Anthony Edwards? He's 6'5", isn't he? Like, what are we talking about here? Is DeMar DeRozan guarding Michael Jordan? No, he's not. No, he's not. Give me Clyde Drexler all day over DeMar DeRozan. All day. Give me Reggie Miller over DeMar DeRozan all day, man. I'm not impressed with the shooting guards of today. Once again, they're underestimating the great players that Michael Jordan went against. Like I said, not just at the shooting guard position, but overall, the era, the golden era of NBA. Gilbert Arenas continues to tear them down with lines and narratives. Sounding ridiculous out here. Now, you know, I've rambled on for a long time, guys. I know it's been long, man. My guy, guys. But you guys know the deal. These are the facts. Straight up fact, guys. Gilbert Arenas is a straight fool, doesn't know the history of the NBA, and refuses to be honest. This man one day says this, the next day says that. He's saying over here, he's laughing like a goofball over there. Michael Jordan, the Bugatti, everybody else. Oh, my goodness. You guys know the deal, man. I'll catch you guys on the next one.